Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on what time you're watching this. My name is Saha Salahi, and I am the Las Vegas Fellow for Ignite National. This is my second year in this position, so I'm very excited to be able to discuss some of the implications of what Nevada is going to be doing for this year's 2020 election. So some of the group discussion guidelines that we're going to be going through is what's the deadline to register to vote? What are the guidelines for vote by mail? Who is running for the U.S. House of Representative and U.S. Senate only if applicable? And what are some of the statewide propositions and what do they do? I know in Nevada, we don't really consider them as proposition. Maybe we do, but I usually know them as ballot questions. So let's move on to the next slide. So deadlines in Nevada. Registration deadline, online registration deadline is on October 29th, and by mail, it should be postmarked by October 6th if you are registering. And then in person is October 6th. So that deadline already passed, but for online registration, we still got time. I think today, when I'm recording this, it is the 16th, so definitely still got time. Absentee ballot deadlines, also known as mail-in voting. To return it by mail, it should be postmarked by November 3rd on the election day. And then returning it in person should also be by November 3rd by 7 p.m. Now, just a disclaimer, I usually recommend and suggest to all the folks that I speak with to get that mail-in ballot in at the earliest time convenience y'all have. It's better to get it in earlier, even with the USPS and everything going on. They also recommend you to get it into them at an earlier time. So if that is your way of voting, please consider getting your ballot in earlier than November 3rd, so everything is in place. And then early voting begins on October 17th through October 30th, but dates and hours may vary based on where you live. This depends on usually some of the polling areas, the timings until when they're open. It's October 16th today, so it opens for Nevada tomorrow, since I'm recording this now, and I'm very excited to go to the polls. I feel like personally I just want to go in and get that vote in. I'm a first-time voter as well, so it's going to be very exciting. So how to vote by mail in Nevada. Now, this could, here, hold on, let me move this down here so I can read all of this. So all registered voters will be sent a vote by mail ballot for the November 3rd, 2020 general election. So it's automatic. If you're registered, you will get that vote by mail in the mail. So you do not have to like apply for anything or send anything in. You will get that once you are registered. Fill out your ballot is definitely important. And then the next step is after you have voted, insert your ballot in the envelope provided, making sure that you complete all the required information on the envelope. In the envelope, I also received my mail-in ballot, and it just basically takes you through the steps. If there's any questions in regards to those steps, feel free to reach out to me or Ignite to go over some of those questions. But you may return your voted ballot by mail, in person, or to a drop box. So that's depending on whatever's easiest for you. At your earliest convenience, make sure to get that done. And then if you're returning your ballot by mail, it must be postmarked on or before election day and received by your county elections office no later than 17 days after election day. So this is something that you're just going to have to put in your calendars. Make sure, if that is your choice of voting, to get that through before election day. If you're returning your ballot in person or dropping it in the drop box, it must be delivered no later than the close of polls at 8 p.m. on November 3rd. So that is also something to consider for anyone doing that step. And then anyone may return your ballot for you as long as they do not get paid or on a per ballot basis. In order for your ballot to be counted, you must fill out the authorization section found on the outside of your ballot envelope. Some of the biggest issues that we have with mail-in voting is if you don't fill it out correctly, it can disqualify your ballot. So that is just something to consider when doing your mail-in ballot, to check off basically all those steps that are required in the envelope and make sure that you have all those authorizations, everything signatured, everything set to go, because it is a very convenient way to vote and also a very safe way. So next, we're going to talk about U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. So Our US House of Representatives are up for election, re-election every 2 years. Now, Senator Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto are not up for re-election this year. It's a typo, it says Jack Rosen, but it's Jackie Rosen. So we don't have to worry about that. But I know that our U.S. House of Representatives are. We have 4 Congress districts, so keep an eye out for those. Some propositions in Nevada that we have. Question 1, the ballot questions, is about removing constitutional status of Board of Regents amendment. Question 2 is about marriage regardless of gender amendment. Question 3 is Nevada State Board of Pardons Commissioners amendment. And then we don't have a 5th one. The 4th one is state constitutional rights of voter amendment, and 6th one is Nevada Renewable Energy Standards Initiative. So we're going to kind of go through each of these and talk about what a yes vote means. A no vote basically means that change to the ballot and to our Nevada Constitution will not be made. So you voting no will just mean that nothing gets changed in that aspect. So a yes vote on the question 1 ballot, which is in regards to the Board of Regents, basically supports removing the constitutional status of the Board of Regents, which governs, controls, and manages the state universities in Nevada, thereby allowing the state legislature to review and change the governing organization of state universities. Now, I know that wording can be overbearing in its own way if it's not digestible. Really, basically, this question means that the Board of Regents, which is a body in Nevada's legislature, basically decides on a lot of and controls and manages the state universities in Nevada, meaning UNR, CSN, UNLV, and everything else that we have here, right? So basically this is removing their status so they do not have the power to govern, control, and manage those certain things. Because if you do some research, there are a lot of discrepancies and controversy about the Board of Regents, and because of that, this is something to look into and definitely review why it would be beneficial for the state of Nevada if the Board of Regents were to be removed. I can definitely speak about this topic more, but because this is only such a quick training, I'm just going to move on. Definitely, if you have questions, though, reach out to me. Question 2 is in regards to marriage regardless of gender amendment. A yes vote supports this constitutional amendment to recognize marriage as between couples regardless of gender. State that religious organizations and clergy persons have the right to refuse to solemnize a marriage, and repeal question 2 in 2002, which defined marriage as between a male person and a female person. So it is that wording that will be changed and also allow that freedom for the LGBTQI plus community. Question 3 is going to be talking about Nevada State Board of Pardons Commissioners Amendment, which means that a yes vote supports this ballot measure to require the State Board of Pardons Commissioners, known as the SBPC, which is responsible for granting pardons, to meet 4 times per year, allow any board member to submit an issue for the board's considerations, and provide that a majority of board members is sufficient to issue a pardon. So a no, again, for this question would mean that none of these changes would be implemented. Question 4 is talking about the constitutional rights of voters amendment. A yes vote supports this constitutional amendment to provide voters with a constitutional right to certain voting procedures. Now, we do not have a question 5, so we're just gonna skip to question 6, and then over here we have Nevada Renewable Energy Standard Initiative, which a yes vote supports amending the state constitution to require electric utilities to acquire 50% of the electricity from renewable resources by 2030, which is a great step if you are looking for sustainability to be a part of the Nevada legislature in the future. So those are basically what's going to be on the ballot and what we're going to be looking at on election day. If y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information, I wanted to leave it here for y'all. It's very easy to reach out to me. Just let me know if you have any questions, and we can definitely go over that process if need be. So thank you so much. That's basically the presentation that we had aligned today. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank y'all. Bye.